Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Host Eddie Frederick.
Welcome to Caribbean Perspective. So glad you can join us. The story that takes the lead in today's edition for Monday, 4th March 2024, and brought to you in association with our friends at Antillean Group, CARICOM arrest warrant coming. Details after this important message.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all, perils big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Welcome back. Heads of government have agreed that companies registered in one territory will be regionally recognized, that CARICOM arrest warrants are coming, and that heads do have a say when it comes to the granting of bail to repeat offenders. These are some of the decisions coming out of recently concluded heads of government meeting in Guyana. TV6's Urvashi Tawari Rupnarayan reports.
CARICOM leaders are continuing work to bring the region closer together through its single market economy. Barbados' Prime Minister Mia Mottley, speaking at the closing news conference of the recently concluded Heads of Government meeting in Guyana on Wednesday, said leaders expect to have the matter of the mutual recognition of companies settled by the time the leaders reconvene in Grenada in July.
To allow people the right to move and then tell them that they have to pay separate sums to form company, the same company, doing the same business in each of the countries that they're going in, is a burden too heavy for you to carry in a single market and single economy.
Motley says a meeting must be had with the OECD and FATF to ensure that country listings are not impacted by allowing companies to legally operate throughout CARICOM. Host President of Guyana, Irfan Ali, explains progress is being made toward the physical movement of persons.
We are seeing tremendous movement in relation to our food security targets. We are seeing progress now on the transportation front. We're seeing greater appetite from the private sector to be part of this holistic solution. We are seeing now, we have heard of the plans for LIAC and to have the operationalization of between 60 to 90 days.
But as the region moves toward full integration comes the issue of crime and criminals. That's why Grenada Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell says heads have agreed to a CARICOM arrest warrant.
As it stands now, someone is wanted in Trinidad and Tobago and find themselves in Grenada or Barbados. It is extremely difficult for law enforcement to apprehend and return them on the simple basis that they would not have been wanted in Grenada or Barbados for any crime. And so we need to make sure that criminals understand that we would not tolerate them moving from island to island within the community to escape consequences of their actions.
Contentious maybe, but an issue this Prime Minister says must be discussed is what he describes as the liberal approach taken to the granting of bail to repeat offenders. Dickon says the doctrine of the separation of powers does not mean zero communication between the executive and the judiciary.
And so as heads, we are very clear that talking and engaging with the judiciary is absolutely necessary if we are going to address this issue of criminality within the region. We cannot tolerate a situation where criminals commit multiple, repeated offenses and are let loose on our societies. And just so that we understand, it isn't only legitimate businessmen, women, or citizens who are moving. The criminals also moving.
It was announced that CARICOM is working on a formula for reparations and CARFESTA will be held in August 2025. Urvashi Tamari Rupnarayan, TV6 News.
A church youth group has joined in blaming parents for the island's crime problem. Outspoken Roman Catholic priest Father Albert Smith recently blamed parents for failing to impart acceptable morals to their children and abandoning corporal punishment as a form of discipline in St. Lucia. Others have gone as far as suggesting that parents should be responsible for their children's offences. Miriam Montoute of DBS News World has more.
The latest instance of youth violence in St. Lucia has left 2 teenagers nursing injuries following 2 separate attacks involving knives and machetes. The attacks took place in the city of Castries on Wednesday, 28 February 2024. There have been no confirmation as to whether or not the 2 attacks are related. However, these latest attacks are evidence of an escalation of violence amongst teenagers believed to be associated with gangs 6 and 7. Young members of World Mission Society Church of God, such as Olivia Richards, suggest that the solution lies at home. Richards says that parents should monitor the media which their children consume and encourage open communication with their children.
A lot of times, children, they are scared to speak to their parents, so instead they act out in different ways. So I would say that the parents need to have a open forum for their children to express themselves. So in that way, they can communicate how they feel, also about what they experience throughout the week, also at home from their father or even their mother or even from their other siblings.
The youth leader sent a message out to young individuals participating in and peddling violence.
Even though life may seem difficult, even though life may seem hard, you actually haven't started living as yet because you are still 18, under 18, 17, maybe in secondary school, even primary school. So my take would be is that just continue to excel in your studies, but most importantly, even though you are young, you should also strive to meet God and also have God in your life.
She says that whilst juvenile delinquency is a worldwide problem, the correct steps and measures taken at home could prevent youth from straying down the wrong path. For the DBS News World, Miriam Montoute reporting.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick in association with our friends at
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
St. Lucia's Tourism Minister Dr. Ernest Hilaire is concerned about the possible increase in Europe airfares and its impact on the sector. The Tourism Ministry is continuing to monitor trends in the air transport industry. Gina Filippi of HDS News Force reports.
Airfare analysts predict continued high prices in 2024 and beyond following post-pandemic travel surges. This raises concerns for tourism-dependent nations like St. Lucia. Tourism Minister Dr. Ernest Hilaire says airfare increases and related cost rises are likely due to the ongoing cost of living surge.
As an industry that has some sensitivity to price, any significant increase in price will affect demand, and especially if you're speaking about Europe, which is going for its own economic challenges, particularly the United Kingdom, where inflation has not been reduced as quickly as other parts of the world. There will always be some effect.
Tourism officials will continue keeping a close eye on the developments in the industry.
As much as individuals are traveling like never before, especially since COVID, and it continues to grow. There's only so much people can take because, especially when it comes to family travel, a family of 6 traveling for the summer vacation, an increase of £100 per person is an increase of £600, really. And it will have its effect. And of course, some of the room rates are also increasing. If you compare the room rates now to what they were before COVID, they too have increased. So you can understand the challenges people will face for traveling now. So we will always be watching very closely those developments. Already the rates to St. Lucia, the airfares to St. Lucia are high. But it reflects a lot the demand the destination and the whole question of supply of equipment and crew and whatnot. So yes, we will always be concerned.
The tourism minister says it's a matter of the destination ensuring it remains relevant and attractive.
I think there has to be a discussion of all stakeholders in terms of how can each contribute to make sure that Central remains competitive. Remember, in terms of just basic economics, you want to remain competitive. And therefore, you have to always figure out that you cannot allow yourself to fall out of the competitive range. And therefore, any thinking and response has to be to make sure that, we are still in the forefront as a destination of choice.
CDB's acting president, Isaac Solomon, recently stated that air transport was critical for the region's development. Solomon made the remarks on the heels of the bank backing efforts to boost intra-regional travel after the collapse of LIAT 1974. Gina Filippi, HTS News Force.
Over in the Bahamas, a communications director in the office of the Prime Minister, Latre Ramin, defends the Prime Minister by election travel spending.
At no time did the office of the Prime Minister indicated to any individual that we use taxpayers' dollars to pay for the PLP's campaign.
That is the response from Director of Communication in the Office of the Prime Minister, Latre Ramin, as he defends recent claims regarding a $100,000 payment allegedly made by the government to cover the expenses of the Prime Minister's travel during the by-election in West Grand Bahama and Bimini.
There were a clear division of where taxpayers' money ended and where the party paid for political activities.
Ramming making it abundantly clear that during the period in question, the Prime Minister's travels were solely for official government business. He's also clarifying that payment was made by the Progressive Liberal Party to cover necessary expenses related to the campaign.
There was a number of items covered widely by all media houses, was the signing of the roads in Bimini, the airport, a cabinet meeting that was held, the expansion of Ocean Key, the opening of the government complex. So there was a number of official government business that happened during the government's travel.
While the Prime Minister wears multiple hats, including that of the leader of the governing party, Ramming reassures that there is a clear understanding of where these lines meet and a commitment to ensuring they are never crossed. Ramming notes that a public officer is responsible for approving and overseeing the expenditure of public funds. He stresses that whenever the Prime Minister travels, a clear purpose must be stated, ensuring transparency and accountability.
There are boundaries in place to prevent the abuse of public funds and the purpose in which the public funds are used. And who is the accountable officer in the circumstances those funds is to be used. The Prime Minister is advised when it is appropriate for him to travel. He is advised what level of representation is required in that travel, whether a ministerial level is fine, whether the Prime Minister is absolutely required to travel, and who should accompany the Prime Minister during that travel.
He affirms that the Prime Minister's travel have played a significant role in repositioning the Bahamas as a strong advocate on global issues such as geopolitics, climate change, and global financing, which directly impacts the nation.
Not only has the Prime Minister become a very strong advocate for the people of the Bahamas, but he's also a very strong advocate for small island development states. And so his representation is absolutely required. And when the Bahamas is not in that room, our presence from the global conversation that doesn't exist.
For the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, I'm Azure Quant.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily regional news and more, in association with our friends at Antillian Group.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all, perils big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.